Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get your stuff up to the cloud. That way you can remember where your files are and be much better than Joe Giglio, who doesn't quite remember how certain things played out on Sunday at the OG Summer Jam. Although we do have some clarification. Before we get to the clarification, how you feeling today?
I feel better. I feel good. I feel alive.
That's good. You didn't seem too alive yesterday.
No, I mean, it's I believe at our age, our refractory period is a little bit longer than it used to be.
You ain't as young as you once was.
I ain't as good as it once was, for sure.
Yeah, there's that. So I pointed out that you did an Eagle Rare shot yesterday.
Which was kind of like a breaking news. You needed like the breaking news sounder.
Hey, look, man, we've all been there. I was there last summer. Remember Brownlow's party when I was really down bad, and apparently you showed up to graffiti and you handed me a Miller High Life, and I do not remember that. So we've all been there, man. It's all good. It is all good. But Joey, who was in that picture of us all holding Eagle Rare, in defense, I think he pawned off the shot to Tanya, and you just went, whew.
Yeah, thank
you. Feel
goodness.
better about yourself now?
I do. The only reason I say that is because like there was 100% chance I would have thrown up if I did a shot at Eagle Rare. 100%. Like I don't know any other way to say it.
You would have like right on the spot?
Yeah, it would have been like immediate. Yes.
Come on now.
But an immediate ejection.
Okay.
So
well,
at least I had my senses about me not to do that.
I have a so here's the thing. I forgot there's a follow-up picture. And let me see if I can pull this up. I believe after the initial picture, there's you like making the decision. Like, nah, I'm putting that shot down.
Plus, I know it was expensive. Like plus I'm not a believer in taking a shot at like that's a sipper.
It is a sipper. You're right. Eagle Rare is certainly a sipper. I believe that's what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing when it comes to Martin Necas contracts. They're just sipping. Yeah, here's a 2-year deal. It's a little something. Hey, you're just coming off a $6 million deal. How about we increase that just a smidge? We'll give you $6.5 million over the next 2 years. So Martin Necas, as we kind of got through this Carolina Hurricanes offseason, we were under pretty good hunches that he was going to be on the roster next season. The question was, what was the contract going to look like? Because they needed somebody like Martin Necas with some of the defections on the roster. And we last, on July 8th, we went over to Weight Competition Center to talk to Eric Tulsky, the general manager, and we talked to Rod Brindamore, the head coach. And look, man, the impression that I got in that conversation was, yeah, he's going to be here. He was Rod back on July 8th talking about Necas.
He talked about it on the exit meeting with him. I'm like, look, there's a good chance. You know, first of all, I'm probably his biggest supporter. Mm-hmm. People don't think that, you know, somehow there's been written that, you know, him and I don't get along or this. No, I'm the one guy that's pushing him. I think he's one of the more talented players in the NHL. I think I'm maybe harder on him because I know there's another level that he can get to. It's no different than being a parent with your kids, right? Like you push them, right? And when they're not totally giving you what you know they're capable of, what do you say? You're a little harder on them. So I think that's where we come there. I do think he's got another level to get to. And obviously, if he's here, which I think he will be, we're going to need to see it.
If he's here, which I think he will be, we're going to need to see it. So again, $6.5 million 2-year deal, avoids arbitration. This also was the last piece that the Canes needed to knock out before, I guess, you could really see some movement on Seth Jarvis and whatever deal he's going to be getting, which indicate, you know, all the indications are that he's going to get somewhere around 8.8, right? 8 years, $8 million. When you look at the going rate for his age and his production, that's about the value you're going to get. Tom Edwards, who's one of our Canes buddies on Twitter, recently wrote about this on his own Medium account. And he did a really, really good job of just kind of, here are the players, here are the numbers, here is the salary cap that will increase over time. And the thing that you have to remember when it comes to the NHL is that the percentage of the salary cap is the thing that matters, not necessarily the hard number. So if you think that Seth Jarvis is somehow going to get a better deal than Andrei Svechnikov or whatever it is, you have to look at the value of and the percentage of the salary cap that will be going towards Seth Jarvis. And when you do all that math, it sounds about like he's going to get 8 years, $8 million. And Joe, this kind of ties into what we talked about with the NFL yesterday and quarterbacks and Jerry Jones and waiting and being the Patrick Mahomes of contract negotiations. The longer you wait, the more expensive it will get for you because the market sets itself. This is something that the Carolina Hurricanes and their Tom Dundon, if there's one thing you can point to that might bite them in the ass, it's been this. So you might as well, now that the Necas deal is done, get around to getting Jarvis at that 8-8.
The age is important as well, and I think we forget sometimes Martin Necas is 25 years old. He's not going to turn 26 until January. He's 5 full years in the league. The one thing the Hurricanes have always done is they've kind of spread out their minutes. They're not really a top heavy team, if you will. It's kind of part of the Rod, culture, if you will. But I think you're going to see maybe a little bit of a shift this year with that. And I think you'll see Necas get more power play time this year as well. As the one complaint, obviously, his dad had. Sometimes it's legitimate. Like, you look at
That's fair.
And, so he doesn't get heavy minutes, but no one gets heavy minutes. So, so the differentiator is what do you do on the power play? And, if you look at it for Marty Necas, last year he had 13 points on the power play. The year before he had 26. It's a pretty significant difference. But again, only 18 minutes of ice time, an average ice time per game. And Aho's only in that 19-minute range. The one thing that does give me pause is of the 9 top scorers for the Hurricanes last year, and there's not that big of a difference. Jarvis and Aho are at the top of that list, and then there's not really that big of a difference in the next 7 guys. He was the only one with a negative plus-minus rating.
It was what, -9 last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is he spent a good chunk of his season with Jordan Staal, right? And so when you play with him, Jordan Staal -14. So I kind of look at it, and I think Rod had it right. They got 2 guys in particular this year. 3. They have Andrei Svechnikov, they have Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and they have Marty Necas. And those 3 players have had what you would consider like Hurricane roles, which are nominally you're on the second line. But we all know when shit hits the fan, Rod goes to Staal and says, "Okay, clean this up for us, please." So
you can only go to that well for so much longer.
And that's the thing. I think Jordan is at the point of his career, and he's being paid that now.
Yeah,
but he's a 4th line player.
Yeah,
but that's not what his role actually is, right? So there's probably a way to lessen some of Jordan's 5-on-5 time. You're never going to take him off the penalty kill, and you're going to need him late game faceoffs, obviously. But there's probably a way to boost the Kotkaniemi role, to boost the Necas role with more minutes and give them a little bit more responsibility. And obviously it's upon them to supplant, Martin Necas and Staal as those kind of, rock steady type of guys. But they have to take that step. And I think that's what Rod's saying. I know and there's people like me too. And I think Tulsky probably has in his head as well that at the deadline, there might be some room to make a move. But think about it this way. Marty Necas also needs to take a step back, because while Rod is saying you're one of the most talented players in the league, nobody wanted you. Nobody wanted you.
No. Not so much that. I think if somebody wanted him by now,
no. Joe,
it's not that nobody wanted him, it's who wanted him.
Nobody wanted him at a price that they were willing to part with.
That's actually incorrect. It was a place where he just didn't want to go because you got to sign the deals. Frank Saravalli. I'll play the clip right now. Yeah. Frank Saravalli does the daily face-off. Now, basically, this was just before the deal got signed. Again, 2 years, $6.5 million. And here's Saravalli talking about a deal that apparently was in place with the Buffalo Sabres and a deal that was apparently in place with the Winnipeg Jets.
2 teams, I can tell you. I believe so there were 2 things that happened. Draft week, I believe the Buffalo Sabres had a deal in place with Carolina to trade for Marty Necas. I think it was Buffalo. There was one team for sure. They had a trade agreed to, and Necas would not agree to sign a new deal with that new team. And that ended up scuttling the trade. There was another deal, I think, on the table. I don't know how seriously Carolina considered it, but I believe it was Winnipeg. And I think Winnipeg offered
Ehlers.
Nope. I think they offered Rutger McGroarty, Cole Perfetti, and some pick. I think it was some combination, if I have that correct. Perfetti, McGroarty, and a pick from Marty Necas. And that, well, either that wasn't getting it done either. Either didn't get it done or that wasn't a place he was going to sign. So it's been, needless to say, it's been challenging for the Hurricanes to get something done with Necas.
So there you go. There's Frank Saravalli on Daily Faceoff. And the takeaway from that is that there was so much noise around Marty Necas on a daily basis in the NHL rumor mill industrial complex that clearly there was a demand for Marty Necas. The question is whether or not Marty Necas was going to sign there long term. And if you're going to give up these picks that make it work for the Carolina Hurricanes, well, then I'm going to have to get something in return. Now, Marty Necas is looking at Buffalo. I don't know about you, Joe, but do you want to be up in Buffalo with the carcass of Jeff Skinner? Is he still there? I have no idea. The point is, you don't want to go to Buffalo or perpetually. Like, when's the last time they made the playoffs in Buffalo, man? It's been a long ass time. And then, of course, you've got the Jets, which he doesn't want to go to. So there is that element as well, in that if you're going to make a deal like this as a restricted free agent, you're going to want a long-term situation. And that clearly was not where Necas wanted to go. So they're going to knock out a 2-year deal. I mean, I don't think the door closes for Marty Necas for a long-term deal in the future, depending on how things shake out. I am curious, because we've talked about this with Eric Tulsky, the new general manager, about cap space and having that as an asset and seeing where things are at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And a deal like this makes me wonder, I mean, what do you do with it? Maybe not this trade deadline, but the next trade deadline.
I think the Hurricanes' short-term answer is there is no magic bullet out there.
No.
What they need to do is get more out of the 3 young players who they've now invested in.
Mm-hmm.
And to defend myself here, what my point about when you're a restricted free agent, which Necas is,
Mm-hmm.
when we've seen this situation before, and now it just so happens both situations involve Montreal, but Montreal wanted Sebastian Aho.
They did, right?
Okay,
right.
And the Hurricanes wanted Jesperi Kotkaniemi. So to my point,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody was really motivated to get Marty Necas,
Mm-hmm.
he wouldn't be on the fucking Hurricanes anymore.
Yeah.
But what the Hurricanes are evaluating is, are we better off making our play with Necas right now and coming to him right now and saying, here's what we're going to do. Here's your expanded role. Here's everything you ever wanted. Prove it to us.
Mm-hmm.
Prove it. You prove it to us. You're going to get all the ice time you want. You're going to have it all earned. Your numbers will go up and your value will go up. If you don't prove it, well, then I assume he'll be gone by the deadline, because now you at least have some value on him to a contender.
That's the curiosity that I'm going to have once we get to the trade deadline, because Tulsky's having to. It's all about, I get there's windows and they have their own system and their own rankings and everything else. Anytime I talk to a Canes fan, their general attitude is dumpster fire. It's a reset. No, they're going to be a playoff team this year. Are they going to be a cup contender the way they've been the last couple of years? No, that's why there was the reaction that there was when they lost to the Rangers. But I think all understand there's going to be a step back. But to your point, these are opportunities for guys like Marty Necas to step up. What he does with it, I'll be curious to know. But you know what? Let's take a hockey break, shall we?
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
Yes, it is brought to you by Happy and Hill. Check them out across the triangle. North Hills is the home base for me. They got a spot out in North Raleigh, out in Durham as well. We're going to be at Happy and Hill at some point here soon, are we not? You're the schedule maker.
Yes.
Okay.
My calendar is on July, though, right now. It is
1 month at a time.
It's in August.
Even though we have, today and tomorrow left in those.
Well, once we start flipping calendars, I can have a clear look at it and tell you what our schedule.
Do we know who August is yet on the Canes calendar? I don't know. I mean, who do we got next? Okay, it's Burns. Appropriate
And
for appropriate for Happy and Hill, since they did the Burnsy Bowl during the playoffs. Yeah, I know that's unfortunate. So check them out. Download the app. Get those goodies with the app, and you can also order ahead, which is very, very clutch when you're running low on time and you need to eat something on the go. Happy and Hill can do that for you. One of the Carolina Hurricanes note before we move on to housekeeping. It looks like Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, is
future OG media podcaster, Canes podcaster.
Is that the reason why he turned down the VP nomination?
I mean, it's a pretty easy choice if you think about it.
Right.
DC, have your own Canes podcast for OG Media.
Think about
Vice President, have your own podcast for OG Media.
I'm not trying to say that the governor's office isn't busy, but he clearly had a system in place where he's able to run the state and watch the Carolina Hurricanes on a time delay. Sometimes he'd have to DVR them and watch them back and all that kind of stuff. I would imagine that the vice president's schedule is a little bit different, and he might not have as much time to watch the Canes during the regular season and find time to record the podcast. So I'm only left with one conclusion, and one conclusion only, is that when Roy Cooper is out of office, he'll be contacting us about coming to the studio and starting to record his Canes podcast. Is that what we can infer?
I think he thought his future was potentially, the number 2 person in this country, or be the number 3 person at OG Media. He clearly said OG Media is the way.
Number 3 person at OG Media, but number 1 Canes insider.
Yes,
there's a difference. There's
Triangle sports leader, even if we did that. See what I did there?
I'm gonna be honest, though, I'm a little bummed out because had he been the VP, had they won, brackets would have been lit, dude.
Yeah, it would have been fun.
We would have to make a trip up to DC.
We'll have more fun with OG Media Cooper.
Okay, yeah, that'll be good.
The captain of OG Media.
What do you think he did with that hoodie?
He framed it.
Framed it?
Oh, yeah.
Right next to his...
We put the captain on there.
We did put the C on there, and he's got it right
it's
next...
not Duke.
Does he have it next to his ACC tournament runner-up mug?
That he kept, for sure. He's ready to throw that at me the next time he sees me.
Yes, indeed.
Housekeeping.
It's brought to you by Enovana. Check them out, ENOVANA.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
Let's take a break.
Look, wrong one.
Whoa.
You have nests inside your mansion or trash in your cabana. Get it clean with Enovana.
Getting a little trigger happy there with all the buttons on the Roadcaster. So again, check them out, Enovana.com. We got the podcast festival that's coming up on August 24th, less than a month away. We are moving tickets like crazy. Joe.
Wildfire.
We will have access to hats. Home field's going to be in the house with an exclusive hoodie. What's that?
I don't know if we will have access.
I know.
You're the only person who gets mad that we're moving units.
Well, because I've been using the hat. So, okay. I bought the hats to sell at the podcast festival,
Work on your pronouns, please.
Which is brought to you by Breeze Through. Check them out, breezethrough.com. Download the app.
Bought the hats.
I asked you, let's get hats. You're like, cool.
We bought hats.
We bought hats.
Yes.
You remember, we're an LLC. So when you do something, I do something. And when I do something, you do something.
I know.
Except for Eagle Rare shots, apparently.
50-50.
Exactly. So we bought hats. You freak out.
I don't know if I freaked out.
No, you freaked out.
I was worried.
Like, oh my God,
How are we going to move all these units?
We got hats in France, buddy.
We do. Casey.
Right? So,
no, you know what that is?
What's that?
You were right, Joe.
Thank you very much.
That's what that is.
So we've got hats, I think, that will be available at the podcast festival if Giglio doesn't sell them all before. I'm sorry, gives access to them.
Yeah, I'm not selling anything. Hit a meeting, please.
Okay.
We're having a meeting. What up?
We get a sign off on the champagne a podcast yet?
No.
Okay.
What do you want to do with that?
Sell it with our guys.
Breaking Tea?
Yeah.
I got to see, that's a little tricky. I'll reach out.
Okay.
We'll see if we can do that. Do the Champagne podcast. I had a logo that Anna had done, but I don't think I have it available to pull up on the StreamYard. But
Anna already did the logo?
Yeah,
we can go into business for ourselves then.
Hold on a second.
Especially if our corporate sponsor might be balky at some infringement.
Yeah, there's always that. There's always the possibility with that. Since we're having a meeting, let me pull this up from Anna real quick if I can. It's too late. I have a logo somewhere, but either way, we'll work on the Champagne podcast. Back to the Breeze Through thing. breezethrough.com podcast festival, August 24th, therealtor.com. Get your tickets today. One other housekeeping note. I've been slack about this. So go give us 5. There's a reason why we have positive vibes only, 5 stars only, right? 5 stars, 5 stars only. We got a great 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. We love that. Hit the subscribe button, the follow button on whatever you use to download your podcast. If you're on YouTube, throw us the likes, leave the comments, all that stuff. Essentially, we are asking you to manipulate the algorithm for us. That's how you help the podcast. Yes, you can buy hats.
Sure.
Yes, you visit our corporate champions. Yes, you go to the podcast festival, but we need you to give us 5 stars. Only. Positive vibes. Only. That's what it's all about. Speaking of legal matters, I don't know. Maybe we should contact Whitaker and Hamer to see if we're kind of towing the line there on some imagery, right? You can ask them those types of questions. They can help you get out of traffic jams, all that kind of stuff. They can take your house to closing. Go to wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. Speaking of homes, check out myhtr.com. Hometown Realty. There's a lot of new construction, as we've mentioned, driving all up and down North Carolina recently, whether it's the ACC kickoff and band camps and hockey and all this other stuff. Seen a lot of new construction. There's a lot of incentives with that. Builders have different ways of going about things. Hometown Realty can help you out with that, Joe.
I just got an email from Corey, someone who bought a hat. He has a newborn. He just sent me a picture with the newborn wearing the dad hat. Like,
see,
we have a beer cave baby, and now we have a dad hat baby.
Perfect.
Like, unbelievable.
See? And you were all weirded out about buying hats. We. Pronoun usage.
We did.
Whatever. It was fine. One of the note. Actually, you know what you need? You need to go to Nature's Relief.
Yeah, I do.
You gotta go chill out. So next time I make a big hat purchase, I'm like, hey, drink this cola.
Take one of those. Call me in the morning.
Drink this cola. I'm about to order 50 more hats. What? What? Just drink the soda, Joe. It's all good. It's all good. Check out naturesreliefhempstore.com. RELEAF hempstore.com. If you are watching on YouTube, you see the music transition. It says positive vibes only, 5 stars only. And joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from Panthers.com is Mr. Positivity when it comes to the Panthers. He is Darin Gantt. Darin, what's going on, man?
Something like that. Hey, we both got the glasses on this morning doing our Steven Netarasic tributes.
The thing is, when I take my glasses off, I can't get on a pommel horse like that dude. So if I tried to do this joke has been made on social media plenty of times every Olympics, but I really do think before you watch any Olympic event, they should get somebody like you and me.
Correct.
Try some of that gymnastics routine for like a base level. So you understand what they're doing is off the charts. And then when the announcers say, oh, that's going to be a deduction. I'm like, talking about? They nailed it. What are you talking about?
I literally watched the Olympics, and I've really been thinking about this the last 3 or 4 days, thinking, what is the event that would be easiest for me to finish next to last in? Like, is there any Olympic event in which I could be even the least bit competent? I don't know. The 58-year-old ping pong woman from Chile,
yeah,
I don't think I'd get a point off of her. Okay, I thought a little bit of that, and I was like, no, I'm a recreational ping pong player. I've got no shot against her.
The only role that I've seen at the Olympics so far that I can do is the guy who jumped in to get the swim cap. You saw him in the Speedo? Did you see him?
Yeah.
Like he had a dad bod. I was like, all right, yeah, I could do that. I could go get a swim cap if I have to. That's kind of where we're at right now. So I kind of joked about positivity, and you and I were actually talking about this at dinner last week when I was up in Charlotte for ACC kickoff. And
it was delightful to see you, by the way, in person.
I know it's nice, human interaction. You, me, Julian, Council, Nada, everybody having a good time. And talking with you, talking with Julian, who does Locked On Panthers, talking with Walker Mel from WFNZ. From a distance, it's easy to look at new head coach Dave Canales and his just very locked in optimism and his just positive nature, right? Very locked in. From a distance, you go, come on, man, this guy ain't for real. But in talking with you, talking with Julian, talking with Walker, others, it's very genuine. And I'm curious if the team, what the process now that we've been, at camp, what that process has been for the players to be like, oh, this dude's like legit. Like, this is what he's about.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job of doing little things that suggest that he's genuine. I mean, every new coach walks in with slogans, paints them on the wall, has their own thing, process, blah, 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 1% better, whatever. Dave's, to me, and again, I'm skeptical about new and different, and I've revolutionized, because we've seen this song and dance before.
Yeah, man.
And when you see him do little things, he talked about the other day when they were practicing in the rain. He said, I'm not going to get all geared up and go parka or whatever, raincoat. I'm out there in the same clothes I'm wearing if it's sunny, because I want these guys to know that everything has to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little thing, but it's kind of an object lesson. I thought Saturday out here at FanFest, he did a neat thing. He gets on the mic to talk to the fans beforehand, and there was a good crowd, like 6,000-7,000 people roll in here at 9 in the morning on a Saturday when it's raining to watch football practice. And he leads them in a keep pounding. And I was like, you know what? Not every coach who's walked in the door has been willing to embrace the history of this place and express it enthusiastically and in a genuine manner. And that's been the biggest thing for me, is in talking to players, especially old dudes around here who have been around, seen it all, and been in other places and seen it all. They keep using the word genuine about Dave Canales. And again, we've met coaches who were salesmen before, but they all say that it seems legit. It seems genuine, that which he is selling. And with that being said, you kind of got to take them at their word and take it at face value right now. This appears to be who he is.
It's interesting. You and I are very similar in that we tend to be skeptical about these. Not that people can't be nice, but everybody has a side where you're like, okay, let it fly.
That's just conditioned response. We've lived it and seen stuff.
Right. And with Dave Canales, it makes me think of the time that I first met former TV personality. I used to do radio with her, Linda Loveland, here in the Triangle. And the first time I started working in the same building, I mean, I had only known Linda from television, right? And the first time I actually started with working with her, and Gold and I were in the building at like 5 a.m. and she's incredible. She's awake. She's just super, super nice. I'm like, all right, there's no way. And then you come around, oh, no. That's just who she is. She's just an incredibly nice person. Now, you can be incredibly nice, but we know this business can chew you up and spit you out if you have a little bit of that to you. So I'm really curious with Dave Canales about this process that he's committed to, and his commitment to this working translates over to Bryce Young. So we can kind of transition there too. Bryce has been successful just about everywhere he's been, with the exception of last year with the Carolina Panthers. And I'm wondering how Canales has kind of balanced we're going to, do these simple things and do them over and over and over again, while also saying, yeah, you know what, maybe his footwork wasn't good today. You know what, maybe there was something I didn't really like today. So how has that back and forth gone so far in early camp?
One of the things stands out to me is Bryce comes off as a kid who wants to be coached and is willing to be coached and receives it well. I mean, and not everybody is. I mean, most of these guys have been recruited and pursued their entire lives, from high school and 7-on-7 and AAU, to college and on. But they're never told, hey, you've got to get better at this. You've got to get better at this. At Alabama, that happens. You don't play for Nick Saban without getting some of that. And he is bright. He processes all those things that were true about him in the pre-draft process last year are still true. He just never got coached last year. There were so many times last season when people on the staff would say, we're going to work on that this offseason. We're going to get to that. We're going to do that. And they never did it right there in that moment. And I think with Canales, it's reasonable to suggest this is a strip it down to step one. They are going to build an offense from the ground up. Here's what they went out and did this offseason. They spent $150 million on 650 pounds of guard because he took 62 sacks last year. You're going to protect him. You go out and trade for a guy in Deontay Johnson who's good at getting open and catching things once he's there, which they lacked last year. You're going to commit to run the ball, which is the best thing to protect any quarterback ever. I kind of like, and in talking to some of the old heads lately, I keep thinking back to this is going to turn into John Fox, Dan Henning kind of offense. I mean, they're going to run it. They're going to set up play action. And when they take shots, they're going to take some shots downfield. But this is going to, I think, if we trust everything we've seen and heard so far in camp, that this is going to be a very traditional kind of offense. And I think that suits Bryce because – Dan Henning told me straight up the other week, we were talking about something else, and he's like, listen, when Bryce was at Alabama, great offensive line, good defense, solid running game, reduced the amount he had to do, and he excelled within that system. So if you create those conditions around him now I wonder if they're going to be able to be great on defense with all the changes they made over there and some of the structural deficiencies at the moment. But the point stands with the offense. They've created the condition for Bryce to get back to doing Bryce things.
Okay. Now, I pointed this out on yesterday's podcast. I went back to the opening day of training camp, and the Panthers YouTube channel caught the front end of it. And it was Bryce almost doing like a group share activity with the assembled media, right? So he was just his normal self.
Yeah.
And I think I heard Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer reference something about David Newton from ESPN. And then all of a sudden you could tell David Newton was trying to transition it back to the interview. And Bryce joked, "Oh, I see what you did there. That was good." And all like the normal conversational tone from Bryce immediately changed. Just like that. Just like that. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa. Go back to the other thing. Go back to the previous Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, as for lack of a better term, shitty as last year went.
Fair.
I mean, there's really no other way to put it, that we didn't really get an opportunity to see the real Bryce, and he might be a little hesitant to show it this year. Obviously, with success, maybe we'll see it.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility of that. Here, breaking news, and to run the risk of working for a certain large newspaper in our state, this could be an exclusive. Bryce Young, actual human being, underneath the programmed Alabama Nick Saban draft process, NFL machine, end product, there is a human being inside that chest. So I have gotten to know him a little bit. I don't pretend to know any of these guys because I don't know what they do when they leave this building.
Yeah.
It's like conversations we've had with people about Pep. It's like you knew him well within the walls, but you never talked to him outside there. Bryce likes basketball. So he and I have had conversations about, the Sacramento Kings, and it's like, yeah, okay, well, this is a normal dude. And it's kind of refreshing to see. But having seen some of the, locker room video from after wins last year, and there's not a lot of sample size there. There's only 2 of them. But when you see him emotional in a locker room, when you see him talking to teammates, you realize there is a person under there. And he's kind of an easy guy for guys to embrace because he is kind of real. I mean, we're used to seeing our quarterbacks polished and saying the right things and preparing for future broadcasting careers and stuff like that. And Bryce is just kind of a regular dude once he's in that setting.
So you mentioned Julius Peppers, and I know this is something that you've been working on at Panthers.com. And there is you're right. When Julius Peppers was with the Panthers, we didn't know much about him because he just wasn't a vocal leader.
Right.
And people accepted that. But people who've known Julius Peppers going all the way back to college understood that he's a pretty incredible guy. Right. So now that we're headed towards the Hall and everything else, and you've spent some time working with them, I mean, what is this next chapter of Julius Peppers that's a little bit more open?
I am looking forward to this. I don't think Julius is ever going to do TV. I don't think he's ever going to sit for a lot of, long form interviews or anything like that. When he speaks, he has things to say. I keep going back, and I kind of realized Julius was different than the other guys. And that's probably the best word to sum up his career on the field and off the field. But, NFL locker rooms are not like book clubs. It's not a very literate population. Not that they're stupid. It's just not a place where you see a lot of books laying around. And Julius was packing his travel bag one day in Atlanta, and something fell out, and he picks it up, and it's James Baldwin. And I was like, that's not Playbook. That's not trashy airport novel. That's not some leadership manual written by some 5-star Navy SEAL, whatever, to, the normal hoorah stuff that football people like to read.
Yeah, James Baldwin's some pretty complex conversation about the world, man.
And he just kind of looked at me and he laughed and he said, "You don't have to put that in the paper." And I love that because Julius was perfectly content letting people think he was face value the whole time. But he's deep, he's thoughtful. The conversations we've had this spring surrounding the Hall of Fame, him getting in it, and where he fits into the hierarchy. I love it because you see him opening up into this realization of who he's always been. And that is this mythical figure who's larger than life, who's great at almost all the football things. And tune in to Panthers.com all week for the latest on that. By the way, I know you've been up this morning and already read our story about blocking kicks, in which we invoke Julius Peppers, Wahoo McDaniel, that's right, and Victor Wembanyama.
Tied it all together.
One little package. We got it there for you. We do it for the people because we care about our readers at Panthers.com.
I love it.
Our next version of Daily Pep is going to be about his complete inability to catch a football as an offensive player. We found the one thing he cannot do. We had some pretty cool stories from.
Hold up. I have a distinct, maybe this is a Mandela effect thing, but I have a distinct memory of Julius Peppers lining up at tight end at UNC once.
Yeah, I mean, they tried this.
They tried it, right?
And it just never worked.
Okay.
And again, tune into Panthers.com later today for all the deepest and latest on that. But it's been cool exploring all this stuff with Julius, and we've got stuff lined up for the rest of the week. And when we get to Canton, seeing his reaction to other people and other people's reaction to him, that was the part that was neat in Vegas, is seeing him realize, oh, Warren Sapp looks at me as a peer. And that recognition in Julius's mind was a big deal, because here's this, at the end of the day, Julius has learned, he has grown, he's seen the world, but at the end of the day, he's a small town kid from Bailey, North Carolina, and recognizing, oh man, there's Anthony Munoz or whoever it happens to be walking through the door, and those guys receiving him as a member of the club, that's been moving for him, and it's been kind of cool to see it.
No, that's cool. And we can close the conversation on this. And this is something that you and I were talking about at dinner last week. And I think for those who have been paying attention to the Panthers for a while, you had mentioned Dave Canales leading a keep pounding cheer. Panthers history is not incredible, but there is Panthers history. That's the point. There is a Panthers history. And I think the further we get away from some eras, you go back and you realize, you know what? There's some good dudes who came through this organization. There's some pretty runs that other franchises never really been able to experience.
No doubt.
And I think maybe the last couple of years with the end of Matt Rule and how things went with Frank Reich last year, it makes you reevaluate the good times. And maybe there's a little bit more of an appreciation for those various eras, which includes Julius Peppers.
Right. And in 30 years, they've gone to 2 Super Bowls and 2 other NFC championship games.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't bad.
Not bad.
It's a lot worse in other places. There was a former popular radio talk show host here in my city who used to beat them up about never having back-to-back winning seasons. And he started doing that when they were 8 and 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I told him then, I was like, that's kind of a fluke, right? From 03 to 05, when they go 7 and 9 and 04 because Steve Smith broke his ankle in the opener, that doesn't invalidate the fact that from 03 to 05, the Carolina Panthers were one of the best teams in football.
Yeah.
And, when you put it in context, the Atlanta Falcons, our neighbors to the south, it took them 43 years to ever have back-to-back winning seasons. So this probably isn't the most reliable barometer of overall franchise health. Obviously, it hadn't been great lately. But again, when you think about it, and when we go to Canton, we tend to think about it in like Hall of Fame terms. You go from that 03 team that, I don't know that there's necessarily another Hall of Famer on it, but a lot of good players on that team with Julius, like Chris Jenkins, Mike Rucker, Dan Morgan, Mike Minner, Brinson Buckner, just a great defense. Some pretty good players on offense too, like Steve Smith, Muhsin Muhammad. And we're going to get in that stretch where we start talking about the 15-team guys like Cam, like Luke Kuechly, and them in the context of the Hall of Fame conversation.
Darren, I don't need the reminder that was we're approaching 10 years. I feel like we were just on the media bus to media night, Darren.
Listen, you and I are wearing these glasses simply because we admire Steven Netarasic. We're wearing them because we need them because we're old. And yeah, it's been a minute, but I do. I mean, I think it speaks to the, that middle section of franchise history where you go from Julius Peppers to Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly. And it's like, there was a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And I think we've seen a little, especially with Cam. I think we'll have another one of those moments as we get closer to Cam and the conversation around him in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure we'll have a re-litigation of Steve Smith at some point here soon.
I hope so.
So I'm sure.
I don't mean to anger our Triangle listeners, but Torrey Holt's a finalist for the Hall of Fame. Steve Smith hasn't broken into that room yet.
Yeah,
Steve Smith's better than Torrey Holt at football, guys. And I respect Torrey, and I think Torrey's a Hall of Famer, but Torrey had the benefit of playing in one of the greatest offenses ever with a Hall of Fame quarterback, and Steve played with Jay.
And on that note, Darin Gantt, Panthers.com. Check it out. The Daily Pep. I see you on the YouTubes as well. We got to keep it modern, right? We got to keep it modern and everything else. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right. See y'all.
Big thanks to Darin Gantt for hanging out with us. When we were out in Charlotte, Joe was rocking the Rowback, and everybody was like, yo, where'd you get that polo from? That's pretty slick. Rowback. So head on over to rowback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order.
Best golf shirts going anywhere. I'm excited because they are going to come to the OG Golf Classic in October,
which is sold out,
and there will be access to shirts.
Very excited about that. When we were at the OG Summer Jam, Kenneth was out there giving you access to the meats, the signature steak tips.
Man, Kenneth,
I think he's still sweating from Sunday. So go to thebutchersmarkets.com. Better yet, go to any one of their locations across the triangle. I think they got 2 out in Wake Forest right now. You can go to the Butcher's Market, get those signature steak tips. We got to start thinking about tailgating.
Are we taking over Wake Forest?
In what
we
way?
got the Roosters.
We do.
We've got
Butcher's Market.
Butcher's Market.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Sure, Heister's out that way as well.
I'm sure there is.
Heister Automotive Group. You can sell your car to the Heister Automotive Group. I did not know this until I did.
I'll be buying from the Heister Automotive Group at some point.
You're getting ready?
This summer. Yeah, it's about that time.
It's almost that time.
I got to contact Bennett. I'm like, all right, here's a very specific ask. I need a 2011 Honda Element with a cassette deck.
Whoa.
That's
specific.
Very, very specific. That's what I need for me. Not for the kid.
I actually know Bennett's buyer, so if you need the direct connect, I can help you with that. But yes, reach out to our friends.
But go to Butcher's Market. Start thinking about your tailgates as we get closer to the football season.
We do need a tailgate situation, don't we?
Yeah,
we didn't do the football last year. We did hockey.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna be here.
Oh yeah, you got hockey dad.
Yeah, I'm in full hockey dad.
Joe Ovies,
which by the way,
GM with his jacket.
By the way,
jacket's here.
If you not yet, if you are a lower A 14U hockey team that is looking to schedule exhibition games in November, please contact me because I cannot get anybody to email me back. Hartford, I'm sorry, not Hartford, Hampton Roads, what up? Roanoke, what up? Wilmington Junior Seahawks, where you at? I need games, baby. Contact me, please. I'll bring 2 roosters if I have to. We got the cooler.
That's how you make friends.
Exactly. So go to 2roosters.com. You make friends with ice cream like we did.
Thursday. New flavors.
Oh, new flavors drop on Thursday. That's right. So they're dropping new flavors all the time. So check out 2roosters.com to find out the various locations and the new flavors that are going to be there. So we appreciate 2 Roosters for being an OG.
I could have a
corporate champion.
Double rooster week because I can't let the Shibumi go. So I need to go get a Shibumi Wednesday and then Thursday, new flavor.
It sounds to me like you need to get a new freezer.
Yeah,
so that when you know the flavors are rotating,
buy the which
tub.
You legitimately can buy. I thought I was talking out of school, and Jared's like, "No, you can buy.
You can buy.
You just need to be able to put it somewhere."
I think that's what you need to start thinking about. All right,
get my own ice cream. People have meat freezers, like people who hunt. You got
an ice cream freezer.
I got an ice cream.
I don't think we have enough room in here to put one. No, we just have a dorm fridge in here.
Yeah,
that's not going to work.
Some High Lives.
That's definitely not going to work.
Maybe some. Oh, it's not. I thought we were turn the hell to the lightning
get there.
round.
We'll get there.
Here's the lightning round.
How much Olympics have you been watching?
None.
The triathlon was delayed because there's too much poop in the river.
Apparently, they spent more than €1 billion trying to clean that river, and promises were made. And
there's not enough.
Promises were made, but shit happens.
Yeah, man. It's like that mattress protector, buddy. It's seen some things. No amount of runs through the wash are going to help with that thing, man. It's just time for a new mattress protector. Okay. So the Olympics will have a delay with the swimming in the river because there's too much fecal matter. I think this happened in Rio a couple years ago too, where it's just like the waters are just not in great shape. Plus, they're in the middle of like a heat wave.
Listen to me when I tell you this.
Yeah,
I can move my brain to the theater of the mind to accept college athletics. I cannot do it to accept the Olympics anymore.
In what sense?
Well, just all of the corruption and what happens to all of the facilities that basically when they're done and everything else. I like I said, I have made a Faustian deal to accept college athletics, but I can no longer accept in my adult life the Olympics.
Well,
I just can't.
I guess it depends on the locations, right? The Olympics.
Even then, it like I think it's cool that they're actually in Paris in like an actual city.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it's been a minute. Like the one in Australia.
The gold
standard's Barcelona. The gold standard's Barcelona.
I think we forgot.
Like I know people who have covered Olympics and they were like, Tudor. Like he's like Barcelona was the greatest shit of like all time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like
I think what you're referencing is something that I've found fascinating about the Olympics and the stupid debate around the opening ceremonies, things like that. The Olympics have always been used through corruption to be like, hey, look, we're supposed to be taken seriously. We're going to do a little
as
sports,
a country or Atlanta. Yeah.
We're going to do some
look at
sports,
us. We're a real city.
We're going to do some sports washing here. Right. I mean, we saw that with Russia. We saw that with Beijing. It's all a little sports. We saw it with the World Cup in Qatar, for heaven's sake. Right. But I think depending on the country, they will utilize the Olympics for infrastructure. So you mentioned Atlanta. There was actual usage for Olympic structures after the fact. There's the Olympic Park. Fulton County Stadium got demolished. So you had the TED, which was used for the Braves before they had the white flight and took off for the suburbs. I get all that stuff. I think Park City.
Every facility from the Olympics in Atlanta is gone.
Well, now they're all gone.
The Georgia Dome, gone.
Yeah, but
the stadium that they built, gone.
1996 was a long ass time ago.
Not that long, 30 years.
Dude, that's a long time. I think we tend to forget that's a long time.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what ends up happening in LA for 2028 and the kind of infrastructure that gets put up around that.
I can't believe they're bringing them back there, but
yeah, well, I mean, money, man, money. I think Park City for the Winter Olympics several years ago too. I think they ended up using a lot of those facilities as well. I'm
sure the luge gets a lot of run.
I'm sure you go up to Lake Placid. You got
this is one of the stranger hills that you're dying on.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I
think in the U.S., I honestly think in the U.S. the infrastructure is used. You go up to Lake Placid, they're still using all that stuff. How do you think they train for the Winter Olympics, Joe?
Oh, well, yeah, somebody has to train somewhere.
They got to train somewhere. And yes, the luge is getting a lot of work. Yeah, if you're getting ready for the Olympics, you have to use those luges that are available to you. I always wanted to do one of those, by the way.
The luge?
Yeah.
Is that the head? No, that's the skeleton is the one face
skeleton
first?
is face first.
Oh, the luge I would die.
You, me,
because my neck.
You, me, two-man bobsled, your neck is done. No, I think
the bobsled is this.
Yeah, I get that, but you're going to have to keep your head on a swivel. There's no way you're keeping your neck upright with that.
No, I'll do the NASCAR Hans device.
Yeah, there's no way, man.
Yeah.
There's no way. Speaking of the Olympics, there's been this kind of, there's this collective hand-wringing about Team USA basketball. They crushed Serbia. They got South Sudan up next. South Sudan kind of gave them the business in an exhibition game. They're up 16 points. I wouldn't expect that to be the case with this next game. But I feel like the hand-wringing around Team USA basketball is a byproduct of three things. The first one is you have a largely bored NBA ecosystem that doesn't want to talk about David Zaslav. If they never talked about David Zaslav and Warner Brothers and Charles,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Exactly. If you're immersed in NBA TV deals, you know all about the Zaz Daddy and Charles Barkley being mad and the TV deal going to Amazon and everybody's all freaking out about that stuff, right? So I think there's a board NBA ecosystem that wants to talk about actual games. So here we are with Team USA basketball. I think you have Golden State Warriors fans that still exist trying to point out, see, I knew Steve Kerr was a fraud, and you're seeing it right now with the way he's handling the roster management. And then, of course, you throw in whiny Boston Celtics fans or whiny Boston fans in general, that when the rest of the world doesn't really want to acknowledge like who you love, you start freaking out. It's like, but Jason Tatum's an NBA champ. How is he not getting run over LeBron James and Kevin Durant? And to a certain extent, the Ant-Man.
There's been some hot takes from Olympic basketball that I
scorching hot takes
really agree with, but
in what sense?
Nick Wright was trying to say, these are all things that come on my feed.
Sure.
This proves like that the Lakers and Suns are the ones who really screwed up around Kevin Durant and LeBron James, because they're still three or four of the best players in the world, and it's like,
well, in Kevin Durant's case, the best.
But I think Bomani hit this one right. Like,
in what sense?
He's like, you're seeing what happens now with these guys when they're like actually rested and focused, and it's not like I have 82 games to play or I've been carrying you for however many years, and I'm focused on the task at hand.
I think there's two separate conversations, one about Durant, one about LeBron. I think it's fair in Nick Wright's point that the Lakers have had roster malpractice. Some of that is on LeBron James. That's the one blind spot.
A lot of it's on.
That's the one blind spot for Nick Wright. I like Nick Wright.
Just as it was on Kobe Bryant. Like, there's something about that franchise where when they get a start. Now, keep in mind, LeBron James won a title with the Lakers.
I know.
I think
we forgot about the bubble.
The thing that people keep forgetting and who's won titles recently, and this is where this should be a fascinating tournament. But the truth of the matter is, like, yeah, Jokic is one of the best players in the world. But when you look at the rest of the roster, you're like, okay, it doesn't match up to what the United States has won through 10 or 12 or whatever, however numbers you want to do it.
Yeah.
Doncic, one of the best players in the world. Well, you need help, right? And then you look at Giannis and Greece. But these are guys who got help. Jokic got help, wins a title with Denver. Giannis gets help, wins a title with Milwaukee. I think that's the part where we're underselling all of the other parts. And that's always going to, to get it back to LeBron, that's always going to be the thing for me with LeBron. The people he's had to go through and the teams that he's had to beat are, in my opinion, head and shoulders better than anything Michael Jordan as a title winning player had to do in the 90s. Not to mention that he had the second best player in the league and the one who was most equipped to defend him on his team.
Don't let a good documentary get in the way of what actually
documentary happened. Was good, but I think and it was Dan Le Batard who had to take about LeBron being the flag bearer at the Olympics, and just how like people are they have like LeBron brain rot that they don't really appreciate what the guy has done in this era. Like, his point was like specifically in like this social media era.
Yeah.
And he was kind of dovetailing your point about like, this is the beginning of LeBron's farewell tour, but he was like kind of like trying to say it like, we really don't appreciate this guy the way that we should.
Where I will agree with that is the pushback on even having NBA players in the Olympic tournament, right? There's a push that, hey, you know what? It should be an 18U thing, or it should be 22, 22 and under. And to me, it's like, why? These guys want to represent their country, and they're representing it really damn well. And when you come from the low of 2004 and how LeBron James has been part of that rebrand, that, you should give an appreciation to guys who legitimately want to be there. Like, it's like the fact that Allen Iverson got dumped on back in the day when he absolutely wrapped himself in the flag. He wanted to represent his country. And I never understood why people had a problem with AI in that sense. But that's a separate conversation altogether. I think with Kevin Durant, his issue is not about who they put around him. Kevin Durant's problem is availability. But straight up, it's availability. Can he be counted on to play an entire season? I don't think you can. LeBron James has been the opposite. He's absolutely reliable, but you can save yourself for an Olympic tournament and go and do what he's been able to do, right? Kevin Durant, when healthy, put the work on Serbia. 8-8 from the field, 21 points. I mean, the guy was ridiculous. But that kind of ties back into the Jason Tatum thing. Like, what are you going to do to incorporate Jason Tatum on a lineup that includes LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, right? What are you going to do in that situation? There's only one ball. And at some point, somebody's going to have to take a step back. Now, if you wanted to sell me,
I think Jason Tatum is a better player than Devin Booker.
Sure.
So, I mean,
but there's also,
I can see that.
But the one thing, this is like college basketball, right? The one advantage that the international teams have been sprinkled with actual NBA talent now, which is something that goes all the way back to 1992.
Yeah.
So now that you're seeing
France, Canada, Australia, they're almost all fully NBA teams.
You're seeing the payoff.
Yeah.
Okay. But the one advantage that those international teams have always had that the NBA USA led team ends up having, and something that Mike Krzyzewski was brought on after 2004 to correct, was you just can't roll players out there anymore. It's not 1992. So you need a chemistry to go up against their chemistry. Again, it's not all that different than what Duke is going to be facing this upcoming season in basketball. Yes, are they immensely talented with Cooper Flagg? Has John Shire done his best to complement Cooper Flagg and how he's going to be the bus driver and everything else? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But because of the COVID years, and the nature of the transfer portal, Duke is going to be going up against some older teams. You're going to be seeing squads that go far in the NCAA tournament, like we've seen with UConn, that are built on largely older guys who have been around for a while. So I understand why there's a chemistry component to this. But the one curiosity that I would have with Jason Tatum specifically is, if you're worried about Jason Tatum, I feel like the conversation should be, has the message been given to Jason Tatum that this is your squad in 2028? This is the swan song for LeBron James and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. This is it. Very similar to 1992, where you had this great collection of NBA talent going out there and representing and crushing everybody. Again, I'm not trying to equate this team one for one, but I do see a similarity in that you are seeing a cycling off of a generation of NBA talent that was immense, and they're going to find themselves in a similar situation in 2004 in this weird transition year. So how do you prevent 2004 from happening again? That's the curiosity that I have. How do you incorporate the young guys who are going to be in their absolute primes once we get to 2028? That's the curiosity that I would have behind the scenes with Jason Tatum, because it's going to be his squad in 4 years. LeBron ain't going to be there. Although then again, it's LeBron. Maybe he'll try to find a way.
Well, Kerr's not going to be there either.
No, he's not.
It's a fleeting situation. I think Boston fans should just look. They have two players in Derek White and Drew Holiday that are like contributing and playing.
That's nice. That's nice.
Now we got Bruce to do that for us.
Yeah, it didn't. Speaking of Bruce, Duke. I think that's the connection. Bruce Springsteen had kids at Duke.
Yeah.
Duke's introducing the Devil's Deck.
I'm sorry?
Say that 10 times fast. The Devil's Deck.
Hey girl.
You want to see the Devil's Deck?
Devil's Deck?
Yeah. I felt like...
Meet me at the Devil's Deck,
girl. I feel like this is being introduced a little late in the game. I didn't know about this until they tweeted it out.
Hey girl, you know how to get to the Devil's Deck?
I'll show you. So they're taking out the end zone.
Taking out?
They're taking out the end zone seating.
It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Taking out the end zone seating. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the
artist rendition.
You can see the rendering here. And they're essentially creating a Jacksonville Jaguars-esque entertainment area.
Okay.
Because the football game isn't enough in 2024. We all recognize this. I'm not saying that sarcastically. I think we all understand, in order to go to a game, you have to make it an event.
Should slap a awning over that, though.
It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
So they're going to have food and beverage, an in-game DJ, yard games for the kiddos who are bored with the football game, tiered decks spanning 7 sections, food and beverage. And this, essentially what they're doing here.
This is for this year?
This is for this year.
Wow.
It's all inclusive.
Okay.
Offering fans a unique social experience to continue tailgating while watching the Blue Devils compete. But yeah, apparently this is a go for this year.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of neat, right? I feel like this is where I get to go. Joe is right.
Does State play over there? No,
I don't think they do. Years ago,
no, they played there last year.
Years ago, during the craft beer boom.
Craft beer boom.
I always made the point that Wallace Wade should kind of be like how a minor league baseball stadium is.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to attract people who don't necessarily
care about the game.
Yep. You just want a nice experience.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you just lean into all the craft beer that's there in Durham. Hell, have full steam spearhead this thing, right? But then, you come to find out there's vendor contracts and there's also the stuff that goes along with it. But it looks like they're finally following through with something that I preached 10 years ago. You got to make Duke football games something where you can get the casuals just to show up on a random Saturday to watch a decent football game. That's a good move.
If only somebody would make an iconic movie about Duke football, then the marketing geniuses at a certain place could go, oh, it's all us, man. Has nothing to do with the movie that made the team famous. Has nothing to do with that.
Wow, man, you are salty today. You're salty today. Did you have a bad experience at the dentist?
No.
No cavities?
No.
Did you get a lollipop after?
Sticker.
The lightning round.
I'm trying to find Dave's sticker. Do you have one for him?
Not on me. I can bring it tomorrow.
Okay. I have one at home if you don't.
I think I have one at home.
Okay.
You got some big ADHD vibes today.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. Big day.
The show already started.
I know. I'm spitting hot bars over here. I don't know what you're doing.
Happy retirement to Rashad Penny.
Oh, the guy the Panthers bought in. He knows Canales' system.
Yeah, 28 years old. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. And I just saw this now. We talked to Darin Gantt earlier on the podcast. Turns out that right after we talked to him, the story went out that Rashad Penny is on the injured reserve retirement list. So there goes that.
Is Miles Sanders on the pup list or the don't ever come back list?
I think he's on the don't ever come back list.
Okay, go hang out with Frank Reich list, please.
That's your lightning round. Big thanks to Matt Davis over at State Farm. Check him out. TheOGinsurance.com, InsureGarner.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277.
We should do a Matt Davis Big 12 game of the week during the season.
You mean a Matt Davis 12 game of the week?
Yeah.
We don't need to identify it as the Big 12.
It's the Matt Davis.
Or the Matt Davis 12 big game of the week.
Love it.
That's what we should do.
We need to do.
In the meantime, just give him a call today, 919-779-8277. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Contact them today, bugsbite.com. Bundle and save. You can take care of the outside of your house. Yeah, we're in that dog days of summer stuff. The mosquitoes are still active. Get that under control.
Are freaking nuts
Ants
right now.
are off the charts. So yes,
killing me.
Go to bugsbite.com and save money. Again, that's bugsbite.com. All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe questions. Let's go to the YouTube comments where we've got, what do we got here? From Blind Lemon Jello, that SMU gear isn't free. Got to sell that OG swag. Don't leave us with nothing but Ovies 5-panel trucker hats. I didn't get any trucker hats or 5-panel hats. Just trucker hats and dad hats. There's a difference.
Oh.
There's a difference. From Philip Giglio, that GIF isn't from The Departed.
Oh, it's not? Jack Nicholson?
I think that's from...
yeah, it is.
What's the one? Anger Management? I think it's from that one.
No.
Hold on a
For
second.
real?
Let's find out. Let's find out on the yes GIF comes from, let's see where this comes. Where's the meme, man? Give me the meme. Where are we at here? It's Anger Management. Yeah. 2003 Anger Management. It's not from The Departed.
What?
Sorry, Joe. Sorry to break your brain on that one.
No.
From Gene. So now that Carolina doesn't have an NFL caliber quarterback, Mac decides it's time to have a competent defense. Not that he didn't try with Chizik, but Carolina's best chance to be good has passed. Mac may be charming and disarming, but his best coaching times are behind him by several years. Should have stepped aside 2 years ago. Carolina has underachieved with Mac. He brought fans and relevance back to Chapel Hill, but Drake is playing on Sundays now. Time for Mac to go back to ESPN. Don't really get the sense that he's going to be doing that anytime soon. And then on the complete other side of this, from EpiFunny1, Dave Dorn is the Brad Brownell of ACC football, ensuring mediocrity without ever delivering more. The press loves them, because they play the game and allow access.
No, they don't.
And they don't allow access. Stop with the
You're
access.
not right here.
We can tell you firsthand it's not about access. All they do is keep lifting the wallets of the fan base to pad their personal wealth. 10 other coaches have won an ACC basketball tournament championship during Brownell's tenure at Clemson without Brownell ever even making the ACC tournament championship game. Likewise, Davis sat back and watched division rivals FSU and Clemson claim 12 of the last 13 ACC football championships, all while NC State hasn't even been in the championship game once. NC State football and Clemson basketball are the moron megaminds of the ACC, Joe.
No, it's Clemson basketball and NC State football are the same. Yeah. Or did I do that backwards? We've made the comparison before, but not between Dave and Brownell.
No.
Because, no, Clemson's issue is they have all this ultra success in football. So why would anybody screw with Brownell? As long as you're not cheating or getting somebody in trouble or screwing up or touching the wrong people, let the guy be.
The closest Brad Brownell ever got to getting in trouble was when he talked about one of his assistants talked openly about recruiting Zion.
Yes.
And essentially it was the, hey,
football
man,
does it.
why don't you give us some of the football treatment so we can get Zion? And that guy got disappeared.
Yes.
Because you cannot mess with football. Of course, now everything's legal, so it doesn't matter now. But at the time, that dude said, he said the quiet part out loud. Can't be having that.
Can't do that.
So as long as you don't get football wrapped up in that shit, you're good, which is what Brad Brownell has done a really good job of. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's edition. We will be Canes focused tomorrow. We'll be scheduled to talk to the new CEO and president of the Carolina Hurricanes. And of course, we'll bring you an OG Live on Thursday. See you then.